Monday, March 7th, and we'll call this meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Bauer,
Here.
Commissioner Bospis Rath,
Here.
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Talentino,
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Commissioner Twardy did let us know that she wasn't able to attend tonight, so we'd need a motion and support to excuse her.
Make that motion, Your Honor.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor say aye. Aye. She is excused. If everybody could please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everybody. Good to see a full gallery this evening. We'll move on to mayor comments. I don't have many, but I'd just like to say we extend our thoughts and prayers, certainly to the people of Ukraine. There are many Ukrainian descendants in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and certainly in Michigan, so we think about them on these horrific days. I'd also like to say that there is an election on November 8th, and 3 city commission seats and the mayor's seat will be open. So please see the city clerk's office. They have a very nice packet of information that you need to run, looking for good service-oriented people. And the filing deadline, I think, is April 16th, 19th. If you get them on the 16th, you're early, but April 19th. So if you have any questions, the city clerk's office is available, and certainly any of the commissioners or myself would love to speak to anybody that's interested in serving your community. Moving on to item C, which is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments on any of the scheduled agenda items this evening? Just need your name, place of residence. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on into item D, which is the consent agenda. Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the consent agenda, it's a light one this evening. 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of February 21st, 2022. And item 2 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
I think that's the lightest one we've seen.
Ever.
Period. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody have any questions on the one item? Would anybody like it further explained or removed for individual consideration?
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yeah, Commissioner Miller.
Why is it so short? Where's the rest of it?
I think there may just be a delay in some minutes, but it was a late month, last month. Let's see, when would have been the second meeting? Would have been the 21st. We probably had a lot of our minutes already previously submitted, but I'm sure they'll be back in full force next month.
Thank you.
Commissioner Talentino, would you like to make the motion?
Sure, Your Honor. Motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bospis Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving right down into, we have no special orders of business, so we'll move into F, Communications. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The United Steelworkers Firefighters Local Union has requested some time to speak to the commission regarding the fire chief hiring process. So I'm not sure, Payne, is it gonna be you?
Good evening, Peyton. If you could,
Good evening. Everyone hear me okay?
sure.
All right.
Yep, thanks.
So good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We just have some concerns over the fire chief hiring process that we think it's important that we voice to the commission and to our community. So as you are all aware, our fire chief resigned about 4 weeks ago. The fire chief job was advertised throughout the country. 2 qualified applicants from within the fire department have applied for the job and were not given the opportunity to participate in the interview process. Our fire department is disappointed that the city has excluded the internal applicants from competing in the fire chief hiring process. Traditionally, our fire department has always hired from within. Our fire department is unique and may take several months for someone from outside of the department to be brought up to speed. Paul Young and Andy Morrison applied. They are respected members that have a combined experience of over 30 years with the fire department. They know the personnel, they understand the inner workings of the county, the city, and the local hospital. We do not understand why the city would not at least hear what they have to say in the interview process. The City Commission has expressed concern for the fire department morale, and dismissing fully qualified department members from the process felt like a kick to the ribs while we were already down. That's all I have. Thank you for hearing us and for your time.
Thank you very much, Peyton. City Manager, do you have any comments, or you want me to go to the commission? Well, I'll open it up to questions from the commission, but I just have a couple comments first, I think. We certainly value and support the service of fire department, and I hope that you see that from all of the actions that we've taken the last several years as far as trying to increase staffing and trying to fulfill your equipment needs and everything else, and trying to make your jobs more satisfactory. We have, I think everybody here, I can speak on behalf of the commission, we do value and respect each and every person within the department. I just wanted to read for you a couple of things from the city's charter, which is our governing document, which is basically our law. And it pertains to the city commission and administrative officers. All administrative officers of the city shall be appointed by the city manager for an indefinite period, subject to confirmation by the commission. Those officers are responsible to the city manager and still have their compensation fixed by the city manager, and so forth and so on. Such officers may be discharged by the city manager at his pleasure without confirmation by the commission. And but more importantly, I wanted to read section 4.9 of the city charter, which says, and this is relationship of commission to administrative service. Neither the commission nor any of its members or committees shall dictate the appointment or employment of any person or in any way interfere with the city manager or other administrative officer to prevent him from exercising his judgment in the appointment of officers and employees in the administrative service. So in short, we're not deflecting, but we as a governing body hire a city manager, and the city manager does hire all of the department heads. We certainly value the input that you gave us, and we, in our evaluation of the city manager, which process is conveniently going forward now, welcome input from community citizens, certainly from members of the bargaining unit, members from every department on the city manager, so that we can give him the best appraisal and goals and achievements going forward. So, but it's pretty clear that we can't interfere with the process of internal hiring of administrative department heads. And again, we do value the input very much. And we appreciate your service. So with that, I'll go to the commission to see if there are any comments or questions that we'd have for Peyton or for any of the department employees here. Anybody? Commissioner Bauer? Yep, sorry.
That was the nod. That
Okay,
might have
the
been a
nod,
little too
okay.
subtle. Sorry, I got a finger. No. Time to get serious, though. Everything that Mayor Gary said was 100% correct. But that doesn't hide a couple of different things. Number one is that if we don't already have one, we're on the verge of, a serious morale issue in regards to, I mean, I know that with the hours issues that, the fire department specifically, has been under a lot of stress, but broader than that, the entire city. I mean, all the other departments, all the other employees, if they start feeling like this is a dead-end job, I don't have a chance for a promotion, then where are we gonna be? The city, whether it be your department, whether it be the police, the water department, they are in fact the faces of the city itself, the people who deal with the citizens on a daily basis, right? And if your morale is down, then the quality of life and, one of the best things about living in Sault Ste. Marie is the quality of life suffers. We cannot dictate to Brian Chapman what his decisions are. However, a question that I might have, a question that I have then is if we've got 5 applicants who evidently Brian Chapman feel are the best applicants for that job, and none of them have come from within, why is that? Are we not giving the employees that we have the proper room for growth within, within the department so that they're ready to assume those roles of leadership when that comes by? I've had the same issue. I used to have that issue in radio. It was a little easier to deal with than at the brewery. I've been in business there for 11 years, and right now, if I died tomorrow, there's nobody there that can brew beer. And, as hard as I have tried and as many assistants as I've brought through, it just hasn't worked out. But that doesn't, sometimes that's just circumstance. I think that, maybe you guys weren't as blindsided as I was by the chief's resignation. But really, we need to be thinking in all departments of what it's going to take to, COVID should have taught us that we have to be ready, to move up, to assume these leadership roles, because you really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's, again, not just true for this department, it's true for everybody. And that's something that I think we as a city need to really take a look at moving forward. And I think that it's a valid question. And I know that your concerns tonight are valid, that, even if the 5 people that we are interviewing are in some way, shape, or form better qualified than the 2 that did not get the call, we have to ask why that is. And did those employees, and do all the employees, do we have a culture? I guess what I'm saying is, do we have a culture of growth within the individual departments in the city of Sault Ste. Marie? And if not, then what can we do to foster that in the future? And I guess those are my main concerns on this issue.
Excellent comments, Commissioner. Thank you very much. Very insightful.
Thank you.
And a good question. Certainly, when we go into goal setting and manager review, I think those are excellent questions. Anybody else have any comments? Peyton, did you have anything else, or?
I think Commissioner Bowers hit on a lot of the points and the concerns that we've been having at the station. I think moving forward, we want to do that in a positive way, and it shook the morale in a way that I feel is unnecessary, and I just wanted to communicate that tonight.
Okay.
And going forward in my own career, we all want to be able to grow in our career and in our department. So just wanted to thank you for your comments.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for bringing that forward. Sure. Commissioner?
Now I gotta say something. I understand where the fire department, what you guys are saying about the morale and what you've been dealing with. I don't know what the quality of the applicants are. I can just tell you from a management position, when you're hiring, you go through, you've got certain things that you look for. Maybe these guys have different credentials. Maybe it has nothing to do with growth. Maybe they're already fire chiefs at another department coming here. My point is that I don't know that it's necessarily a growth problem with inside the fire department or the departments that we have. I think that's a great question. But the other side of it that I would look at is, would you really want to be interviewed and have the opportunity to interview if you really weren't going to be somebody that was really shouldn't even be sitting at the table because you don't meet the qualifications of everybody else? To me, I think that's false hope. So I don't know how that would work with morale with the fire department either. So I guess from my position, and I'm sure you got a comment on that, right, hopefully, because I don't know, for me personally, I wouldn't want to interview people from the fire department just because I wanted to keep morale up, even if I knew that I wasn't going to hire them because there was better people qualified. That's all I have to say on that.
Sure.
I'm just going to stay up here till I guess we know we're done. So the question is, are you wasting, would we want to have our time wasted? That's basically what the question is.
Basically, you'd be given false hope, right? So you'd have the opportunity to interview because you're basically internal. Right?
Yeah.
So, go ahead then, you go.
So my response to that would be Andy Morrison was the runner-up after the testing process last time around. So he has, and that's, Paul wasn't in that process last time, but why not give your department the experience and the chance? Paper can only bring you so far, and there's a lot of things on paper that you won't know until you meet somebody.
So I will agree with you on that point, that from an experience standpoint, that makes sense to allow them to go through the interview process so that regardless if they're at least gonna gain the experience of going through that, whether it be with us or with another department someplace else.
And the experience that is accumulated between the two applicants is not something to dismiss either. I mean, like I said, over 30 years, these guys know things, and yeah, it just felt like that didn't matter. So.
Well, I'm personally feel sorry that you guys felt that way. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do because we hired a city manager, as the mayor had stated. But I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate your comments.
Mm-hmm.
Any other commissioner? Commissioner Miller?
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. Of course, we want the morale to be on all our departments very good. When I was appointed to the city commission in 2017, I was told that the city commission we only had 2 employees. We had a city manager, at that time we had a full-time city attorney. We hired the city manager to do the day-to-day job and as Mayor Gary read tonight, whatever, really not, regardless of each one of our personal opinions of what we think we should do, there's not much the commission can do. The hiring process and however the city manager wants to handle it, that's how he has to handle it. If we get into his business too much, then we hired him and we were gonna micromanage him, and we can't do that. We hired him to do a job, and we have to have faith and confidence in him that he'll do the right thing, regardless of how, like I said, I want the morale to be great at the fire department, all our departments. But in this certain instance, however, Mr. Chapman wants to handle it, that's how it's gonna be handled. But I appreciate your comments, and I'm so glad you're here tonight. I'm so glad all you guys are here tonight. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Yeah, Peyton, we appreciate your comments, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. And we do have I think as Commissioner Bauer said, and everybody has said, we do know that culture change is difficult, and we want the morale of our employees from top to bottom, from administrative to everybody to be good. And we want to know if at different levels, certainly if there are breakdowns, and you know, you've brought your concerns forward, and we do appreciate it. And we do thank you for your service every day. I think we're very thankful, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to item F is communications number 2. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for just commission information, Engineer Boyle and I are going to walk you through a quick PowerPoint here. In the business items of our meeting, we've got a few different grants that we're going to be applying for, or seeking your authorization to apply for, related to the Carbide Dock and Easter Day project. So we want to just inform you of where we're at, where we've been, how we plan on moving forward. You may get the sense from reading through the agenda items on the grants that we're kind of taking a shotgun approach to the grants for the Carbide Dock, and we are. We've got it pointed at the wall that we want to, but we are taking a shotgun approach to it. So we've been on the phone and in meetings, more so Dave and Tracy Layton, with federal agencies, state agencies, not-for-profits, different trade groups. It's probably consumed the majority of their time the last 2-3 months, maybe longer.
Yep.
So a lot of the granting agencies have given us a lot of strong support, but no guarantees. So without any kind of guarantees, we're applying to everyone that's given us strong support. So that's a little background on a few of the items here, but we have a presentation up on the screen for you. We'll just kind of walk through it here. I'm going to let Dave lead most of this, since he's the guru on the dock right now. So again, we're going to walk you through where we've been, where we're going, and if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt us, and we'll be happy to entertain them. So with that, Dave, I'll just kind of turn it over to you.
Okay. So after we bid the project, and 2 projects, and we couldn't come to any kind of agreement with the contractors, and we threw out all the bids. Of course, we were like $17 million in the hole, so it was a big hole to dig ourselves out of. So what we did after we got done with that on both projects, we had interviews with all the contractors, not only the ones that bid, but the ones that didn't bid, trying to get a good sense of where we were at on the project. So just to talk about the roadway just quickly, because it's a little simpler than the dock project is. The roadway, we don't have too much lateral on that, because a lot of it is standard pay items that we're doing. So what we were facing was just, it was materials and manpower at the time, and a lot of materials. The materials were just outrageous on that project. So right now we're looking at, we have a couple things that we can probably make adjustments on the roadway. And we're tracking all the material costs, because if we get to go out to bid the next time, we might do a separate bid just for materials like piping and stuff, so that we can try to get some discount there. Now, on the dock project, This dock was built the turn of the century, 1800. It started in 1890, so it's pretty complicated. It's, we had a hard time finding any kind of information on it. I mean, we use a lot of old pictures of when they were building it to come up with our design, so. So from the contractors that we had, what we heard, you know, they had, their resources are spread thin too, and they had labor shortages and the material stuff. At the time, the metal sheet piling was coming up really high. Since then, it looks like it's coming down, and maybe by the time we get the bid again, it might be back to something reasonable. But the big, the big item that the contractors are having a hard time with was the front part of the dock, the seawall part. And we had a demo of the original the original concrete platform that's out there, okay? This platform is on wood piles right now. So it's not an easy task. I mean, the best thing to do would be from land. They're all looking at doing it, you know, from the water, just because of all the way that it's deteriorated out there. They don't know if they can get their equipment on there. So, maybe if you go to the dock one there, Brian. So our big thing that we're looking at is the contractors all want to be able to demo the cap pile in place. And, you know, the only way we can do that is we have to move the seawall out about 5 feet. Right now, when we originally designed it, we were at the harbor line. There's a harbor line, and then there's a channel line, which is about 13 feet out. So we got with the Corps and Eagle, and we're working on the permits right now, but they're all in favor of us moving out 5 feet. So what that's going to do is we'll be able to put the sheet pile wall out 5 feet. The contractors will be able to demo that cap right there. We'll just munch it up and leave it there in place, and then fill the rest with some kind of an aggregate or something. So, so that was one of the big things we're looking at. If you go to the next one, Brian, if we're over there by the powerhouse, this is actually a dam right there in the corner. And we're having a hard time figuring out how to get the sheet pile, or what we have to do is we put the seawall sheet pile, and then we have another sheet pile wall that's in the back. We use that as a dead man, sort of, so we tie rods in and hold the seawall back. The contractors are telling us that we could put H piles in. H piles are kind of like columns that you'd see in a building. So another big cost savings there. Let's see. If we do the seawall, if we move the seawall out, then we're going to be able to do a different cap than what we were intending before, because we'll have a little bit more room, and we'll be able to work off of the sheet pile wall that we're going to put out there. So that's what this is showing it. So it's essentially what we're going to do is we'll put the cap right on top of the sheet piles. Before we weren't doing that. We were going to be kind of up front, and we had to come up with some kind of a cap to put in front of the sheet pile, and that was kind of intricate and becoming expensive. So doing it this way, hopefully we're going to save money. Just a few other quick items here. The guardrail that we were putting out there that ran along the seawall ended up coming in like it was made out of gold. I mean, we could have bought stainless steel panels cheaper than what this fabricated wall or guardrail was going to be. So we've made some adjustments to that, kind of using standard off-the-shelf items, and hopefully we'll get a big savings on that. Security fencing, we put a nice security fencing around out there. just because it's gonna be a public area, you know. It's not only gonna be industrial, but it's gonna be a public area, but we'll probably leave the nice fencing in the public area, and then in the industrial area, we're gonna go back to something that's a little bit more industrial. The service drive, because we're moving it out, we're gonna reduce that service drive that runs along the seawall. But doing that, we're still gonna be able to, we're still gonna be able to get tanker trucks out there, I mean, big tanker trucks. So, we made sure that we got that because we've been getting a lot of inquiries about parking the freighters and fueling them at this station. Some other things that we still haven't completely worked on, but we're looking at some pavement adjustments in the bulk storage area. It's an area that, you know, we'll be using every now and then, but we're not gonna have a lot of loading on there a lot of times. So instead of having maybe a 40-year life on it, we'll go to 20-year life. But after we get it out there, probably still end up having a 40-year life. So the boardwalk, we just straightened that out, and we're using some different materials. And then we got an underground storage that's by the bulk storage area, and we were doing this because we got to catch the brine from the salt as a DEQ or Eagle requirement. So we were gonna put 2 out there, so we only had to pump them out every now and then, but we can get away with 1. It just means a little bit more maintenance issues for us, so. And then we were, as part of the Seafried thing, we were trying to put some stone on the corner there for the fish, but that stone was another thing that came in like gold, so there wasn't requirement, so we're gonna leave that out. All right, so right now we had quite a bit of a deficit. We're probably at about $2.5 million that we're looking at from making adjustments to the project. So our current estimated cost for this one is $23 million. So just going down through here quick with the stuff we had before. And right now we're looking, you know, we're anticipating about $7 million. We're looking for more than that. So we're about $400,000 under budget right at the moment, but we're trying to make sure we get some more funding just to make sure we have enough, or we're not coming up short.
Gas prices from this weekend as well.
Yep.
So, I mean, we could still have a gap here.
So looking at the grants that we're working on and stuff, and when we might know and things, we put together a schedule so we could bid this project back out again. So we're kind of looking at the end of July, first part of August. We might not know, you know, completely if we have the funding, but we'll keep the bids open for a longer period of time so that we can try to make this happen for next summer. We think if we get in that earlier time frame, we won't have a lot of competing things going on with the contractors. That's another thing that we heard last year, so we're trying to get it out there as soon as we can. So, and that was it in a nutshell.
Great presentation, Dave. Can you maybe go back to one of the photos that has kind of the whole array and just blow it up a little bit? And maybe, Dave, you can point out, because this is really exciting to see the blend of functional industrial area and kind of some nice consumer fun stuff too, and how it complements the Seafree. So if you could maybe just explain a little bit, because I think you did some value engineering, but I think most of the good stuff is still in there, so.
Right, yeah, okay, so on the left side, right next to the powerhouse, is mostly the park area, right in front of Seafried. We haven't touched anything with that, except for we've adjusted some of the bushes and shrubs down to get back into what we have funded. So that whole area, you know, is gonna be nothing but a little park area. We're gonna have sitting areas, people will be able to fish, or you could have a little concert down there because we set it up that way, so. So then, when you get into the middle part there, that's in front of the parking lot, that is, Seafried well, they're taking water out of the river, running it through their fish area, and then we have to discharge it. So we're gonna put it in that pond. The pond's gonna serve as a stormwater detention area, but it's also running the Seafried water through, so then we'll discharge it out front there. And then when you get over to the far right, that's our industrial area. So the big highlighted area there is the bulk storage. That's gonna be, we should be able to bring in salt and aggregate and sand and anything that the freighters can bring, we can put it there. We left a little area towards the south there. If we bring in like containers or parts for the locks or something, we got an area to store those on right there. The front part that's towards the river, that's the area I was talking about where the tanks are. That's our catchment area for getting the brine. And then all those little dots that you see there, this whole site is set up for not only we can park 1,000-footers, and we can park cruise ships here. We spent a lot of time with the Lake Carrier Association to come up with that. And then there's a little black area way over there on the right there. That's a crane. That's a crane pad that we worked with the Corps to put in there so that if they barge up equipment or something, we can offload stuff right there.
Thanks, Dave. It blends so many different uses together, and I think it's worth noting again that, and I know we'll talk about it in the next 4 items, but this was, I think it went defunct in, 2017 when we had to fence off the area, and
Yeah.
the city has been trying very hard since then to try to get funding and put a plan together, and it has come together, and we have a very large grant from U.S. Department of Transportation, and that's also joining with the Easter Day Avenue reconstruction money, and then we have money from the state of Michigan and some other sources. So if we are not able to put all of these sources together, then we are going to lose over $20 million in grant money, which is very, very hard to come by, and the program, some of the programs aren't in existence anymore, so. So thank you. Any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Miller?
What would that deadline be for losing that money if we don't?
2025,
Yeah, 2025.
Thank you.
long ways off, but it's not.
You're right. That darn 5-year period of federal grants.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Talentino?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, looking at what you guys have done here on the value aspect of it looks good. You know, pushing that out another 5 feet does make a heck of a lot of sense, especially if we can get authorization to do that.
Yep.
You know, being in that industry over the last year or so, I've got to really understand why these figures are as astronomical as they are. When you start talking barges, water, and sheet piling, you're talking money. So pushing that out there, that extra 5 feet with the ability just to grind that cap and dump it right back in behind that, I think is gonna be a bonus. What is that water depth right off the front? Is that 30 or 32?
It's about 30.
Okay.
Yep. But if we go out farther, we're gonna get, I don't know where we're at, but we're getting close to 40 feet. So then now we're, you know, we can bring them the 1,000-footers in fully loaded, so.
Right, you're talking a big long piece of sheet piling there at that point. So, no, it looks good to me. You know, keep up the good work on this. And like I said, I do have my head around this, and I can understand what you're going through. So keep it up,
Yeah,
good work. Thank you.
thanks.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Dave.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on into business items. Number 1, city manager, and thank you for lending me your mouse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for commission consideration is request for a budget amendment related to a 2021 Ford Utility Police Interceptor that we recently purchased. The commission approved a quote from the company that outfits the police cruisers for us. Due to shipping increases, increases in the cost per items, and the fact that we had to buy new for some piece of equipment, the project has gone over budget. So we're seeking a budget adjustment of $2,500 or $2,506 coming from the general fund to cover the purchases.
Thank you, City Manager. Does anybody have any questions on this item? Commissioner Bosphus, Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have just a general question. How many miles a year does a police cruiser get on it? Average?
You want to come on up, Wes?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just that one question. I'm sorry to bring you up just for that, but
Chief Beerling?
Typically 25 to 30,000.
25 to 30,000
However,
miles?
when we have vehicles down for maintenance and we have some cars that are then running 24 hours, it could be higher than that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any other questions while the chief is in proximity? No? Commissioner Bosphus Rath, would you like to make the motion? Did you have something before we?
I just wanted to make sure, this is just for the outfitting it. We purchased it already, but, so it's just for the lights and radios and all that stuff.
Sure. Motion to increase the 2021 Ford Interceptor Police Vehicle Project budget from $41,500 to $44,066 with $2,506 in addition funding to come from the general fund.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosphus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Gary.
Yes. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Under G, business items, number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to apply for grant funding through MDOT for bridge repair and maintenance work. MDOT has a new grant program that specifically funds repairs and maintenance work for bridges. The city currently manages seven bridges throughout the city limits. The grant request is for a project of $750,000. We typically budget $50,000 per year for bridge maintenance work. We would apply that money to the match for this one. Tonight is just a request to apply for the grant. If awarded, it's probably 3 years out before the work will actually be done. So we just want to get on the state's list for funding for bridge repairs. Just a side note, I guess, the bridges that we own within the city are something that doesn't necessarily come with a revenue source. So if there's an opportunity to seek outside funding, it's certainly something we would recommend because as you can see from what happened in Pennsylvania the other day, bridges, if they're not well maintained, they can be a major hazard, fall apart, whatever the case may be. So we'd look for a motion to approve the grant application, or a motion to approve the recommendation as presented.
Thank you, City Manager. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that item? Seeing none, Commissioner Bauer, would you like to?
So moved that we apply for the fiscal year 2025 MDOT Bridge Grant to allow the authorizing official, Robin Troyer, Deputy City Manager, to sign.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bosphus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Under G, business items, number 4, City Manager Chapman.
Number 4 or number 3?
3, sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration, you threw me off there, is a request to enter into the contract with MDOT for project 22-5011. More specifically, the West Portage Avenue project. This is a project that we received a grant from. MDOT federal funds are estimated at about $888,000. City match coming out of our roads funds about $330,000, almost $331,000. The project would rehabilitate West Portage Avenue from Easterday Avenue to Osborne Boulevard. Rehabilitation consists of cold milling, the existing HMA surface in designated areas. I don't think there's a lot of utility work on this one, no. Yeah, this was a grant we were awarded a couple years ago, but it just went through the bidding process through MDOT. So we would look for a motion to approve the contract as presented, authorizing the city manager to sign for it. Just as a side note, I know this has been a pointed topic before. Engineer Boyle and I were talking about this. When this project is done, because it'll be more concrete work on top. West Portage right now, from that section coming from I-75 down that way, isn't a Four Seasons Road, is that what it's called? All Seasons Road, All Seasons Road. When this project is done, it'll be able to be considered an All Seasons Road, which will be able to facilitate a lot of the heavier traffic. So we've got the spring weight restrictions coming up in the next few weeks we're anticipating, which is always a topic of discussion as well. And any heavy vehicle that travels down this particular stretch needs a permit. But once this project is done, that permit won't be required because it'll be Four Seasons, all seasons, all seasons. So we would look for a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Thank you, city managers. Anybody have any questions or comments? Is this pretty typical for road reconstruction? It's about 1.5 miles, $1.2 million, so it's pretty close to $1 million a mile, right? Which is why it's so difficult to reconstruct a lot of the city streets.
Yep, right, exactly. But it was bid last Friday, and it came in 12.8% under, so
Wow.
we're. But we did,
Is that an engineering happy dance?
yeah. We did make some adjustments,
Okay.
last fall after we had the other bids come in, so we were anticipating that maybe we'd still be over, but we're glad it came under.
And this
Excellent.
project is specifically road work. It doesn't include sidewalks, utilities, some
No.
curb.
We have to do some of the sidewalk ramps because they weren't on the ADA standards. Every time we get federal money, we have to do that, so, but that's what we'll do. And we have a couple spots, we're working with the Corps because they need new entrances, so they're gonna build them, but we're gonna pay by them, so.
Yeah, that's, to your point, that's why road projects are tough, because it's
Yeah.
$1 million a mile.
$1 million a mile, wow. Wow, okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank you, Dave. Commissioner Talentino, would you like to make that motion?
Sure, Your Honor. Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to sign MDOT contract 225011 for the rehabilitation work on Portage Avenue.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments before we have a roll call? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspis Rath.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to G, business items number 4. We're
Thank-
through the 2 MDOT issues.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to apply for a Port Infrastructure Development Program grant through MARAD, U.S. Maritime Administration. Just as we talked about in the brief presentation, this is a rather large grant, it's about $5 million that will help bridge the current funding gap that we have for just the car by dock. And a note for that, the original funding that we received from MARAD, the funds for the dock have to be used for the dock. The funds for the Easter Day project have to be Easter Day. Easter Day, there's probably some more funding opportunities out there, so we've been focusing on the car by dock portion of the project. So I think all of these grants are for the car by dock tonight. So this is a $5 million grant. There is a match requirement to it. We worked with the state and we worked with this particular granting agency, and we'll utilize the match that we already received from MDOT, or the funding from MDOT as the match. So we should be all set there. I think there's one other grant that uses this as the match as well. And again, we're not anticipating getting all of these. We want to make sure we get at least one of these. So there is some overlap with the funding there. If we do get all of them, then we'll have to kind of pick which one we're gonna go with here, but, there's details in the agenda item on the grant if you want some more information, but we look for a motion to approve applying for the Port Infrastructure Development Program grant.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments on that item? Sure, Commissioner Bosphus-Rath.
I see that it's due by May 16th, but I'm just wondering the turnaround time on it. Like, when will you know if you get it or not?
So most of these grants are gonna be due, they're gonna start being due by the end of this month, all the way through May. There's usually probably about month or two review, and then some notification work after that. So we're probably looking beginning of summer, midsummer at the latest. Yeah. So that's when you'll start seeing, if we are awarding these, we'll have to bring them back to the commission to accept the grant and sign off on the contracts that way. So, yeah, so we're throwing everything at the wall. We'll see what sticks. We'll come back in mid to late summer to see if we got any of these.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Collins, would you like to make that motion?
Sure, motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosphus-Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Under G, business items number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next is a request for another grant application related to the Carbide Dock. This particular funding source is through the MEDC and their CDBG Public Gathering Spaces Initiative grant. Same deal, it's about $1 million grant. There is a match that we'll use from some of the MDOT funding that we've already received to cover those expenses. Grant's due April 15th. We'll hear a couple months after that. Nothing crazy with this grant, just as a side note for this particular one. This program is a CDBG fund, which is the same funding source and same program type as your downtown facade improvements, your housing, or your apartment rental rehab, stuff of that nature. The state is very cautious right now at giving organizations too many CDBG grants because of the paperwork that's involved with getting a certified grant administrator and having all that stuff on here. So this particular grant, if awarded, will kind of be our CDBG thing for a year, maybe a year and a half. So if we do have any other people come forward that's looking for a rental rehab or whatever the case may be, if it's funded by CDBG, there's a good chance that it'll probably be turned down just because we have this funding that's open right now. So just as an FYI, we have had a couple of people approach us about getting CDBG funding for residential rehab projects. And we kind of told them that we're going to be in the hat first. And if they'll let you do it, they'll let you do it, but they're probably not. So we've been kind of fending that off a little bit. But I just want to make clear that this will be the CDBG grant that we go after or that we administer here for the next year and a half. We really won't be able to get too many more.
Thank you, City Manager. Anybody have any questions or comments? Commissioner Miller, would you like to make this motion?
Sure, thank you, Your Honor. Motion to approve applying for a CDBG Public Gathering Spaces Initiative grant.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosphus-Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. G, business items number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is another grant request related to the Carbide Dock. This one is through the Department of Transportation's National Infrastructure Investments Program. $5 million grant, $1 million match. We'll utilize the MDOT one if this is awarded over the other one. I've kind of talked to death some of these points, so we look for a motion to approve the grant as presented.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments on this one? Commissioner Bosphus-Rath. Would you like to make the motion? Sorry.
Sure. Motion to approve the grant, or motion as presented.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspas Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on into G, business items number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last one for commission consideration, another grant request related to the carbide dock. This particular grant is another $5 million grant with a $1 million match. Same setup as before. If this one is awarded over the other ones, we'll use the MDOT funds that we already received to be the match for it. So look for a motion to approve the, motion to approve the, I'm stuck. Motion to approve the grant as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments on this one? And since we're on the last one, thank you very much. I know that all the departments work on these. It's kind of a thankless job applying for these federal grants, and the grants.gov is not really user-friendly. And thank you for trying to find all these sources for the gap financing, certainly. So, who'd like to make this motion? Mr. Collins.
Motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspas Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Gary.
Yes. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, and good luck on all the grants. Yeah. Well, moving on into item H, which is city manager announcements and updates. So, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things just to update you on. Safe Routes to School grant application was put into the federal agency a couple weeks ago. We've been working pretty closely with the school district on getting their side of those grant applications completed and submitted. Included as an attachment in my updates is the preliminary plans. It just kind of shows you the area of work. You really got to zoom in there. Some of the sidewalks that we'll be replacing or installing. We're probably not going to be funded this year. It's kind of a first come, first serve. We're looking for funding next year, but fingers crossed, maybe another school didn't follow through with their grant application, we'll be bumped up the line. So just as an FYI, that's out there. Over the weekend, there was some concerns about water bills. I told the commission I would look into it and follow up with you all, and we just want to do this during the commission meeting in case any of the members of the public are watching as well. There has been a concern about some water bills that have an increased amount, and is it related to the water meters? Is it not related to the water meters? And what it actually is just an increase in billing days in the cycle. Typically, they're 30 days plus or minus. This particular bill that just came out, I got mine this past weekend, is at 44, 45 days. So you're seeing more days on this initial billing after the conversion is being rolled out. So after this month, everything will be smoothed back. Everything will go back to about 30 days, whatever the case may be. So people are going to see a slight increase in this first bill just because there's more days on it, and then it'll go back to normal. So just as an FYI. And that is all I have.
Anybody have any questions for City Manager? Commissioner Bauer?
Yeah, just on that, will our due date then change?
No, the due date's still the same. So, Kirk, you want to come up and kind of explain it?
Actually, no, is really the answer.
Yeah. Good evening, Kirk.
Good evening. No, so the city has two cycles. We have a cycle A and a cycle B. Cycle A is due the 15th of the month, or that's when we send the bills out, and they're due 30 days after that. Cycle B is due on the 30th of the month, every month. So the cycles aren't going to change. What we have right now is when you get a new meter, we have to catch you up to the cycle. So that's why we got the longer days. So the due dates never change. It's just this little short period. You know, some people get stuck with 2 weeks extra days. Some people get 2 days on our bill. So that's what we're seeing right now.
Thanks. I just figured for people who are on auto pay,
Yeah.
you know, if that cycle changes and you're not aware, could be late.
Yep, good question.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kirk.
And so if you, I know that the volume's changed in the meter to meter, but we did not change the rate.
We did not
Itself.
change the rate itself, no. We changed the unit of measurement, so we went from, does it say cubic feet? What is it? Oh, it is cubic feet. We went from cubic feet to gallons, and there's 7.5-ish gallons of water in a cubic foot of water. I've got props in my office if you'd like to see them. But
He gave you a thumbs up, so he
Yeah.
did it right.
So, yeah, so we did not change the actual rate itself. We just changed the unit of measurement. And part of that, people are more used to talking in gallons. Gallon of milk, gallon of this, gallon of that. Even when I first got here, I'd never been with a municipality that sold water by cubic foot. It was just kind of strange. So we're switching it just to a unit of measurement that people are more common, more familiar with, so.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can go to cubic feet of gasoline in our car and change that unit of measurement. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions for the city manager? All right, moving on into item I, and I should have introduced, we have today Sarah from SiouxLeader.com, so thank you very much for attending the meeting, and we appreciate your coverage of the meetings. It's very good to have media here so that people can hear and read firsthand what's going on, so thank you. Item I is matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments at this time? Seeing a quiet public, we'll move on into item J, which is matters presented by the city commission. City commissioners. Quiet commission, too? Don't you want to say anything about the Lakers run? Sure.
All right, well, they fought hard, they battled really hard, actually, this weekend. Lake State Lakers lost, unfortunately, so they're done for the season, but it was a great crowd, 3 nights of hockey, and it was entertaining, I'll say that, but they fought hard and had a great season, so hats off to them and the coaching staff, and of course, Lake State, so.
All right, thank you. And I don't like to have any items of self-interest, but I wanted to wish the LSSU Lady Lakers good luck next week when they go to a national championship in St. Louis, Missouri. And certainly we're proud of everything they've done. They're ranked #1 in the country right now, and we'll see if they can hold up to the West and East teams. They're pretty tough, but certainly they've done a lot better than they've ever done, and they won their CCWHA title, so I think it was a fantastic year, and good job by Lake State. So good luck, and I will be there in person watching. Anybody have anything else? Commissioner Talentino, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, sure, Your Honor. Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Been moved and supported. We adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.